What is up, gamers? It's Dissonant Waves. That's the intro, Dominic. I took over for it.
I'm playing Game of the Year right now.
I played the worst game of 2021, Skatebird.
Oof, we got a lot of hot takes already. This is episode...
It's a shit game, Dominic. I'm sorry. I'll get peed on again.
I've not played it. I can't tell you one way or the other.
I hate being the person to bring down indie devs, and I'm sure the people working on it put in their effort, but that was a waste of 3 hours. I'm sorry to say. Oh, so this is a gaming podcast now.
Yes, I am playing Balatro as I speak.
Classically, having streaming issues and recording issues. The last couple episodes have been weird for me for some reason. So Ritz is recording this one.
And I've tried to fix the input stuff, so you don't hear my room as much, but you're probably hearing that as I talk.
And that's fine. This is episode 185.
Ooh.
We are nearing the end of the year, but we still got a couple things to go here. A lot to talk about this week. We got, from me, of Montreal's Lady on the Cusp and Dog Park Dissidents' Magnificent Bastards. Ritz, you chose the new album No Hands by Joey Valance and Brae. I asked specifically to make it the Deluxe Edition for reasons we'll get into.
Yep.
You also picked Magdalena Bay's Imaginal Disk, the EP Guilt is Good by Secret World, and a late edition, well, something that you picked after we stopped recording last week. The new EP by Celia Hearts, Pop Music. And Trix, you just chose Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables by Dead Kennedys. You were pretty simple and straightforward to the point.
Well,
yes, I am.
The odd one out this week, and I feel like it should be the start, is the non-2024 album. It is the Dead Kennedys one. And
yeah.
I think from here on out, since we've got quite a bit to cover through to the end of the year, I think we're mostly going to be picking 2024. I hope we all are. I don't know what Trix has planned.
I got some fun shit planned. You'll see. I'm not really picking 2024 anymore.
All right, well, that's that idea for an out. But either way, I think how it should go is we should go for the rest of this year. We start off with the non-2024, get through that, and then talk about the 2024, because we're getting into that point where we're considering what's our favorite of the year, and doing that at the end, I feel is a bit more in the spirit of this podcast. So. Trix,
and I feel like it's open field still, so we have plenty of things that could move us.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll still probably pull out a couple 2024 picks, but my pick for next week is from the 90s.
And that'll probably be what we open with next week. But until then, Trix, you wanna introduce the album?
Yes, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. This is like the definition of a punk album, and this was actually some of the first punk I ever interacted with, and I figured it'd be fun to throw on the podcast.
It's the first one from the Dead Kennedys.
Yes. And it's a fun album.
I think fun's a very, understatement of this album, because to call it a fun album isn't quite what this album goes through topically.
No, but it's a fun album to listen to. Who
does not like Jello Biafra?
Well, the rest
he
of the
is
Kennedys.
So fun to listen to in the kitchen. Like, this is one of the definitions of kitchen music, because this album, I've played this so many times in the fucking kitchen. It just rocks.
See, I've always found the kind of shit fight that happened between Dead Kennedys and Jello Biafra to be kind of amusing in some ways, because in one hand, yeah, it's kind of fair for the members of Dead Kennedys to be asking for their royalties. That's a whole screwed over. But on the other hand, the rest of Dead Kennedys, and that's the point in which they were right, and the point in which they're wrong is, well, yeah, they are a bunch of sellouts.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's kind of always interesting going back into Dead Kennedys in the period where they all didn't hate each other.
Yeah.
And that being said,
I feel like this is a very important album for punk music.
It's a very important album for music. This is quite politically charged in all the correct ways.
That it is.
And I mean, you go on to decades after this, and people have discovered songs from this era of Dead Kennedys. Yes, from a lot of, I guess, video game usages and stuff like that. And you can consider what is selling out and what isn't. But there's no doubt to say that, for a lot of us, we would have been introduced to Dead Kennedys probably through songs like Police Truck, through Tony Hawk, or...
yes.
Or, yeah, Dominic has pulled up, that's fine. He will
Or
be back
even
in a minute.
California Uber Allies.
Yes, with American Wasteland. Holiday in Cambodia was a Guitar Hero 3 moment for me. It was also a rock band. There's the controversy of Too Drunk to Fuck, which isn't off this album. Neither was Police Truck. They were both like kind of singles that were on the expanded version, but not on the actual album itself. Being used during a rape scene, which Jello Biafra has said kind of goes against the whole morals of the song, which I would kind of agree with.
Yes.
But there is some interesting moments that kind of happen in this album, especially on the songs that aren't quite as remembered in those regards as some of those other songs are. Like on Chemical Warfare, I think it was, where it has that kind of ending which it kind of felt like a bit torturous. That they're kind of, or like they're trying to experience torture happening into there through, I guess, chemical warfare. That was a real moment when I just thought, like, okay, this wasn't really just trying to be fun.
No. It is a very, very politically charged album. This isn't the one with Nazi punks fuck off.
Dominic, do we have you back?
Yeah, it's still doing the thing. I don't know what the fuck is happening.
It's a wild thing, but you got you got me here recording, so we're all still fine. I would say the only like fun cover, like fun moment on this Trix, like actually fun, is the cover of Viva Las Vegas at the end.
Yeah.
That's a cool. It's cool. It's an interesting cover.
Oh no, let's lynch the landlord. I think that's always a fun politic we can all get behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dominic, now that you're back, I don't have to carry the talk anymore. So,
what do you have to say about Dead Kennedys, Domino?
I mean, this is a classic punk album. This is something that I have not totally listened to a ton of, but now I have, and it's not as good as some punk we listen to, but I do think it has one of the fun tenets of punk that I always look for is the vocalist interesting and unique.
Jello Biafra is definitely unique.
Because that's really the way you can differentiate yourself, is by having a point of view or a singer that is like grabbing attention from the way they sing.
Yeah. Yes. And I the whole band is very tight in their musicality and rhythm. Klaus Fluoride is a hell of a bassist.
Also, the names are just fascinating.
Yeah.
Got some East Bay Ray, Jello Biafra, of course, Klaus Fluoride, just Ted.
Now, there's been quite a bunch of re-releases of this album since its first release as well, and a lot of them have gone through some remasterings, and I didn't listen to any of that. I listened to the, I guess, the most original version that there is on Spotify of how original that actually is.
As did I.
And I was kind of surprised, just kind of thinking about it, having listened to it, not in a full album in this way, but just listening to Dead Kennedys in the formats that I had, kind of how, I guess, low production it actually all is.
Yeah. Low production back then was a lot different than I think low production is now. It's rarer back then, and thus was in a way more effective.
Yeah,
it is in a sense very, I guess, lo-fi sounding. Not in a sense of like lo-fi hip hop, but things that are kind of compressed together. It is sometimes hard to tell some things apart. When there are certain moments where the instrumentation all comes together and it's not so clear on which one it is, but I think they work around a lot of that in its songwriting itself, where a lot of the instruments do get those moments away from each other, or they're kind of more simplistic riffs that happen on here. It allows you to kind of more determine everything that's happening better, so I think they've worked around that quite well.
Yeah.
I mean, I say simplistic. Holiday in Cambodia is anything but.
I mean, it's interesting that they are so lo-fi in a sense that they are also a band that is infamous for their obscenity trials and whatnot.
That is, yes.
Like, they're a band you can almost say that you don't understand the lyrics really, and you don't really hear them, and so who cares?
I wonder what I Kill Children's about.
I mean, hey,
Who knows?
But yeah,
I mean, plenty of people were doing stuff like that. That's not the only.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a case of like the Dead Kennedys were a niche. They were a part of a scene. Yes, they were very early into it. Some people might say that like this is like I heard some takes say that this is like the first hardcore punk album. I don't know if I would agree with that, but I don't know the history enough to fully debate it. To be honest,
It's an early one.
It's an early one.
Probably like Agent Orange before this, I would imagine.
Agent Orange was 77, I want to say. So yeah, you're right.
But I think for what's here, it gets the point across. It's the same kind of politics, the same kind of stuff we've come to expect, and thus it's anarchic in some ways and more relevant than ever in other ways.
Yeah.
So that is what early punk has to give us now, is that like very basic, straightforward, let's lynch the landlord.
Yeah. I do have a fun aside about this album. This is one of the albums I listened to while on mushrooms at work.
Oh God, how was that?
Which it was actually pretty fun. I feel like I should elaborate on the whole I did mushrooms at work thing first, because that is part of the story. I showed up to work early because first off, it's been real slow at work, and so at first my hours were kind of cut because it was a case of, we're gonna cut back on hours, we don't need you right now, but come in later. And then I got a text at like 3:00 from my boss saying, hey, you want to come in at like 5 or 6? Our kitchen manager wants to go home. And I'm like, sure, fuck it. And I got there at 4 because I caught the bus. And when I got there, my general manager pulled me into the kitchen and was like, you want a microdose? And then the kitchen manager just produces an envelope from her pocket and hands me a bag of mushrooms. So like this was all above board. This wasn't me just like doing mushrooms at work. This was my manager being like, "Hey, do mushrooms at work."
Okay, what if you misheard and they said, "Do you want to microwave these?" And it was supposed to go like they were just regular mushrooms. So
I don't think that's how that works.
If you microwave the mushrooms, you will kill them.
Yeah, I was just trying to put in a shitty joke. Anyway, continue.
And we refer to our microwave as Chef Mike, anyways.
Yeah, fair enough. The best chef in the kitchen.
Yeah, he is. So I take the mushrooms, I eat a plate of fries because I know I'm not going to be able to eat anything after the mushrooms kick in. This is also my first time doing mushrooms, I should mention. And as it kicks in, I start feeling like just amazing, and I'm playing music, and music is great. Food looks disgusting but tastes amazing, and I can't swallow, so like I was like chewing up like a duck fat fry and spitting it out in the trash just to like experience that flavor. And eventually I put on Dead Kennedys, and I just remember listening to the end of Chemical Warfare while staring up at the lights, because the lights had this like weird, like almost like fly particle to them, where just like they had like a bunch of like shimmery particles coming off of them. I don't know how to describe it other than that, but it was surreal.
It sounds very surreal. I'm surprised you could do that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that was sanctioned.
Yeah, and that's, if anybody is wondering what kind of work I do, I work in a kitchen, and drug use is normalized and encouraged, it seems.
Ritz, have you done mushrooms?
Nope.
Neither have I yet.
I don't plan to. I'm relatively straight edge compared to you two.
I would honestly do mushrooms again. That was a lot of fun.
Maybe eat your fries next time.
I did eat fries beforehand, but
not being able to swallow it would be really like a mood killer for me, I feel like.
Well, I wasn't hungry. Like I had it murdered my appetite entirely. And so like if I wasn't around food that didn't look gorgeous and like just colorful, I wouldn't have wanted to put it in my mouth. But like I have a whole kitchen and it's like I can put shit in my mouth. I have to. Like I have to experience textures and flavors and like just not swallow.
There.
All right. Well, that was a fun waste of an opener. Shall we wrap up this album and head on to the 2024 stuff?
Sure.
As far as this album goes, it's not like a particular favorite of mine from the era. It's got some interesting stuff. Obviously the hits are the hits. The ones you know are the ones you know. Holiday Cambodia, California Uber Alles. The Viva Las Vegas cover is very funny and interesting as well. But like,
yeah,
there's some pretty stock standard stuff, and for what it is, that's totally fine. As an early example of the genre, that's what you should expect, and it's got it, and it's good, and it's fine. But it's not like, an amazing album.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way.
That's a fair assessment. It's a very important album, and I think it's good that we covered it, but it's not the best Dead Kennedys album. It's the one I've listened to the most just because it's the one that like comes up when I want to put on like something hardcore punk at work. But yeah.
Favorites for me.
It's a fun album.
Favorites for me: Holiday in Cambodia, California Uber Alles, Let's Lynch the Landlord. I do like the Viva Las Vegas Las Vegas. Fuck, it's a tongue twister. Recover as well. It is fun. Least favorite? It's not like there's really like a least favorite of it, but there is just a lot of, I guess, not up to the same par as the other song. So yeah, I'll just pick one at random. Like, I don't think we ever talked about Drug Me, so we'll just say Drug Me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would agree, except for the part where I think probably something like Stealing People's Mail or Funland at the Beach is my least favorite. Drug Me was interesting. I could get down with some Drug Me.
I just picked one at random.
Favorites for me are Kill the Poor, Chemical Warfare, California Uber Alles, Holiday in Cambodia, and the Viva Las Vegas cover is fun. And I don't have a least favorite. This is just a solid kitchen album.
All right, Trix, since we got yours over and done with first, what are we doing next?
Let's talk about the one that I have the least to say about, which is one of your picks, Ritz, as I scroll up and look through it real quick. It's not the Joey Valance. I have quite a bit to say about Joey Valance.
I didn't think it would be. I think it would be one of the EPs. I think we're gearing up for here.
No, we're actually going to talk about Imaginal Disk by Magdalena Bay.
You're wrong about that one, Trix. You're wrong. I'll do the quick introduction. So Magdalena Bay, Imaginal Discs. Yeah, I got the fuck up.
Dicks.
Got the fuck up done, baby. You're on camera.
Ritz is imagining dicks right now.
I've been horny for so long. So Magdalena Bay, Imaginal Disk. This is the indie pop album that I've seen a lot of people kind of talking about, but it obviously hasn't been the big pop album in this year. That's kind of gone to something else, and I guess kind of like I wanted to pick this one because after the kind of, I guess, the disappointment of Brat as an solo album compared to the hype that it got, I kind of wanted to see if this one was better, and my god, this is the one I'm like, okay, I do get this.
Yeah, there's some really cool tracks on this thing.
Yeah, this should have had the blow up that Brat had when it compares to like what's the actual, like, in terms of quality, what's the good pop album of this year? It's this.
Could Charlie XCX do Killing Time? Would she dare to stoop down to that level?
See, Charlie XCX could, but she didn't. That's what my problem with Brad is. So, I think one of the big things we talked about was Fantano giving Brat a 10. I don't give Imaginal Disk a 10. It's not getting a 10. It's not happening. It's not my favorite album of the year compared to what I've ranked so far. It is potentially one of my favorites, but it's not going to be number one.
Okay. So, sorry, it just happened again. It's a mic problem.
But
okay,
it's have you come back to us? Have you come back to Earth? Have you come back to the floor?
For now.
That's your floor.
I am feeling pretty disconcerted, I will say.
Yeah. So, what grabs me about here is that with Brat was there was a lot of just kind of the sameness happening. And I know I'm comparing a bit to Brat, and I'm going to stop after the intro because Imaginal Disk has its own thing going on. I think the production here is a lot more interesting. There's a lot more just going on with this, and I think it's complementing the vocals in a very much more contrasting way as well. And that's kind of like, after listening to this, I just kind of go like, why wasn't this the Brat moment? This is the better pop album by far.
It is better than Brad, I'll say that.
It's more dream poppy than I think I expected, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, there's just some really nice euphoric moments. There's just really nice, like...
Well, ethereal, I felt like using the word ethereal to describe her vocals is how I would go.
Yeah, I was going to say, very ethereal, kind of heavenly moments.
Yeah.
Like, just those high notes on Killing Time are just, oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm shocked you had nothing to say about this, Trix.
It was a lot of pop for me. I put on and I just kind of tune out.
I just feel like this is somebody who's like finding their voice and finding their like moment to like get the good shit out.
It is interesting, I'll say that. There was some instrumentation on it I enjoyed. The bass on it goes pretty hard in some points. But for me, this is I'm gonna wait for the next album before I see where I go. Like, it's good, but it wasn't super memorable for me.
Now, I can't fully say I disagree in the sense that I do think the middle of the album is where it loses me a bit. Probably from like, I don't know, probably Fear and Sex for the next 5 or so tracks. I'm kind of like, all right, this is fine. There's some nice stuff here, but like the last part of the album, the first part of the album, I am totally on board for.
Those are definitely the highlights. I'm not gonna lie about that, but I feel like the middle of this album is, whilst yes, it's probably not as memorable in terms of its variety compared to the rest of the album. I still think it's moments when you go through there are still quite enjoyable pop songs going through, but yeah, the highlights definitely are from like She Looked Like Me to Death and Romance, and That's My Floor to The Ballad of Madame Miko.
Like there's that one disco track. Is it Angel on a Satellite or Cry for Me?
Angel on the Satellite's kind of more of a ballad, I would have thought, more than a disco.
I think it's Cry for Me that has like the little violin hits.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh my god. When that fucking hit the first time, that was a huge moment. Like, that was like chills entering my spine. Like, oh god, we're going here. Okay. I am so totally paying attention and listening again. And like there's simple little tricks I have found that like when I am feeling it, like I'm feeling the album, but I'm not feeling where the current part of the album is, if that makes sense. Like if I'm vibing with it enough, a simple musical switch up or trick will get me back in.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think I'm in a pretty same agreement with Dominic here.
Like, I don't think this is going to be like my top album of the year or anywhere near that necessarily, but like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is almost a random pick that just ended up being really cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's not even going to be my number one of the week. That's
oh god, no.
Definitely not.
It's in a cursed week for that. But this is one of those ones where I feel like if the highs on this album weren't as high as they are, I probably wouldn't have this considered as potentially breaking into my top 20. But those highs those highs hit, and the lows.
Oh yeah,
those lows aren't that low.
The lows are more smooth lines, and the highs are really nice peaks. The peaks, yeah.
Like, I haven't even talked about the main single, the biggest song off here, Image, as well, and that's one of those ones where the ethereal, however we pronounce that word, vocals really come into that kind of more, I want to say experimental, but it's not really that experimental. Kind of pop instrumentation happening in there, which kind of also falls into that whole, like, I want to compare it to PC music as well, because PC music had a lot going on with its kind of hyper pop thing went onto there, and there were a lot of artists into there that kind of led into branding a lot more than other artists had, and Image kind of gives me that kind of whole vibe in the self-awareness way as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, one of the lyrics is literally God make me into your image. At the end there's It's like meet your brand new image, and that's what it feels like to me. It's like kind of talking about, I guess, fame or pop in that kind of sense of becoming a godlike entity just in fame. That's what it speaks to me, and it's a really kind of interesting track that's not actually got that much different lyrics happening on in it as well. So it's cool that it can kind of just do that in all the instrumentation and little words it has to kind of say much without saying much.
It's like the best example of stuff we've kind of tried to pick before, like when I did tennis last year. This is what I was hoping for. And it's that thing of there's enough going, like you're saying, to kind of go lyrically into it. There's enough going there to like go beyond, oh, it feels heavenly, oh, it feels this. There's a nice combination of pop sensibility and like going beyond traditional, just I'm writing a song, I'm making it an experience.
And a big thing that I've seen as list weeks are starting publication wide, mine's starting pretty soon as well, so I'm starting to consider mine and compare it. A lot of people saying that this has been a huge year for pop. And in a sense, that is correct. Commercially, it has been. Charlie was a success. Yeah. This was a success in some form. Sabrina Carpenter had a success.
Capital Roan
broke out, even though she didn't put out an album. She did put out a new song, which obviously caught the fucking world by storm. Hell, even Taylor Swift had an album out there at some point.
Everyone kind of forgot about that one, didn't they?
Yeah,
I think a couple, if you go by technicality and how she releases her shit.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to think too much about it.
But I feel like that album was the one that like has lasted the least in recent memory.
There are other albums from the last year which some people probably would have started getting onto this year as well. I'm just going to see if I can even just look at the top 50 in Oz right now, and that will probably get me enough pop albums or something that's come out. Gracie Abrams put out an album. It just doesn't mean if it's good or not, but that is an album that came out that was popular. Did The Weeknd have an album? Or was that just songs? I don't know. It all gets lost. Oh, Billie Eilish had an album.
Yeah. So huge year for pop.
Huge year for pop. But for us, I don't think we would agree. Just because we haven't really been critically responsive to a lot of the pop albums this year. I think this is like the first proper pop album from this year where two of us have been positive to it.
I think we were both positive.
I feel like Go ahead, I feel like I'm being positive to it, but it's just it's not sticking with me.
Well, we were pretty. I think we were. Yeah, you said first, Domino, but I think I know what you said.
We were pretty positive on the Brat remixes. Like, I think,
yeah. I'm more talking about in a standard album, though, and the standard Brat were pretty. Yeah, we weren't negative, but we were pretty.
We were disappointed.
Yeah, we're pretty mid on it comparatively.
Yeah, but I think the conversation now, like Brat was the conversation, but the conversation now is the remix album. Like, I have a friend who was basically like, no, you don't understand. This was the plan all along. That is the actual album. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, if that was supposed to be the actual album, then release it as the actual album.
But there may be some truth to that, given how quickly it did release and how big it got.
But, point is, I think when it comes to what is the best pop album that we've covered this year, I'm looking at my list at what we've had. You know what? There was another one that we did respond positively to. I guess you could call it pop. It is a bit more EDM, but you could call it pop. Is Rave Tapes?
Yeah.
I would still probably call that more EDM style, but it's a lot poppier than other stuff.
I think
I like Rave Tapes.
I like Rave Tapes, but I think we as a podcast, we respond to other music more often.
Yeah.
None of us are. We pick pop, but none of us, I think, are compelled to constantly pick it and constantly make that our focus.
No.
If it sounded more like this album, I would probably be a bit more inclined to pick it, because whilst it still might not be the best stuff of the year, at least it's a lot more interesting than the usual stuff that we cover.
Like, the fact that we're over 5 years in and I've never picked Purity Ring once.
Yeah.
And going into this show, I loved Purity Ring.
And Purity Rings made a top 100 for me.
Yeah, and I think that says something.
That happened. Favorites, least favorites off this. I love Image. I love That's My Floor. I do like songs like She Looked Like Me and Killing Time and Cry For Me as well. Least favorite, probably something like Watching TV.
I like Killing Time. I like Cry For Me. Angel on a Satellite. Image is good too. Least favorite, we're looking somewhere like Vampire in the Corner or watching TV. Probably watching TV.
It is a. I'm gonna call it a cheese sandwich because I can't pick out anything that I would say that I would really go back to or anything like that. But there's not really anything I dislike about it. It's just kind of there for me.
The one thing I want to mention before we head off as well onto the next album, this one does have a couple interludes on it. I think literally 2, and they both flow so well into the next track. It doesn't feel like they're filler. And I just want to compliment that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird that True Interlude comes so early, but it works.
All right. Well, what do we want to cover next?
I don't know. My cat's going apeshit on the ceiling right now.
We already
Let's talk
covered
about the surprise pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The one you tacked on later in the week. Celia Hearts pop music.
Yes, so Celia Hearts, also known as Adam from Masaturi. I was actually very close to seeing Celia Hearts live because they were supposed to open for Bigger Boot when I went there, but they pulled out.
Damn.
Oh no. Ended up seeing a band called Think About You instead. They were pretty good. But yeah, I feel like if I didn't tell you that this is the Masaturi, or one of the members from Masaturi, one of the 10, side project, I don't think you would kind of guess it.
No.
It's not Masaturi, and that's kind of why I picked it, because I like seeing side projects that are actually a complete stray from. Saying Masaturi is a bigger band is it's a bit of a stretch. They're not that popular, but still, you'd consider it the main work at this point.
Yeah.
For us, they're known.
Yeah. And it's not even 10 minutes, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this is 3 songs and it's 8.5
minutes.
8.5.
Yeah.
And this is more pop. And I like this as well.
It's interesting. I think that's... Go ahead, Trix.
I was going to say, this kind of falls in the same boat as Magdalena Bay for me, not going to lie.
I could take or leave your favorite song, but pop music has been going through my head a bit this week.
See, I know that it's hard on you.
That one also has been there, but I just hear that main beat from pop music a bit in my head, and oh yeah, that was cool. I'm glad there was something there that was memorable.
I like this EP quite a bit because I think it's it's probably having that context of knowing what band they're from and how different this is making me go ooh, that's more interesting. And then if I had just never heard of it before. But I think there's some good variety happening on the songs. I think this is a great kind of showcase of production stylings happening over an 8.5 minute EP. Yeah, and I think the songs work as pop songs. Comparing it to Magdalena Bay, Magdalena Bay's a much more highly produced album. It was always going to sound better. But, trying to get pop music or DIY pop music standing out on your own, this is attempting. It's doing as good as a job as DIY pop could possibly do. There's a reason why a lot of DIY pop doesn't get popular, and that's just because that's the sound of pop.
That's fair.
You're playing a losing game, so I like something that's still trying, and it sounds good.
Yeah.
And picking a new DIY artist, with as much success as we've had, it's always a crapshoot, right?
A lot of the time, yes.
I think back to when we did Magnolia Geo, for example. And that was rough. And not that that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that when it's DIY, when it's a side project like this, it's more of a opportunity for somebody to showcase their talent, showcase at least their upcoming talent, their chops. And I don't know much about Adam, but this ended up working out. This is simple, not too complicated, and that's the same thing I'm saying twice essentially. But what I mean by that is, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't try to do too many things as an EP. It is just 3 simple, distinct, different songs.
Yes.
And I like it.
It's good.
Yeah, at the current moment, on my EP list, which is going to get wild because I'm going to try and pick some EPs as we close out this year. Like, my plan is to at least get one album, one EP, probably more for each week until we're finished. So
Yeah,
I don't think this will stay there, but it's currently occupying number 10 spot.
I think it's a pretty small year for EPs so far.
Yeah,
So it's definitely on the list.
It's helped
Yeah.
because of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I'm going to plan to pick some EPs that I haven't properly listened to kind of help get the list on. Because I mentioned at the current moment that it's 9 out of 10 Australian. And I don't mind having higher number of Australian compared to any other country, but it's not going to kill me if it turns out to be 8 out of 10 in the end.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
we're always a global podcast. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
But yeah, I fully recommend this EP. It's not going to be your favorite music of the year, but there are some interesting moments of it. I know that it's hard on you is definitely the standout for me on this. I think that's the most well-produced track on here as well, and one of the more catchier moments. If I did have to take to leave a song, I guess it would be your favorite song, ironically, but it's not even that I hate it. It's just it's the worst out of the three. That's just the unfortunate reality.
I like pop music more, but I would agree on the least favorite. And I know that it's hard on you to find.
Let me pull up the track listing.
We said all three just now.
Yeah. Cheese sandwich.
We're slapping them cheese sandwiches off the grill. They're hot. They're ready. Come get them.
We have an item on the menu at work called that's a grilled cheese with birria in it. And there's this famous Reddit copy pasta that's like still the top post of our grilled cheese. That's just titled "You People Make Me Sick," and it's this big rant that this fuck blue shells guy goes on about how if you put anything in a grilled cheese, it becomes a melt. And I just think about that every time I make one of those at work.
Make mine a melt then. Who gives a shit?
Should we go into the one now that I consider to be a blender?
Sure.
I'm gonna guess.
Go ahead.
Is it the of Montreal?
It is the of Montreal.
Yeah. Lady on the Cusp, the newest of Montreal, following Freewave Lucifer. Fuck.
That was a fun period when we thought of Montreal was back.
Yeah.
The secret is that they are always all over the place.
Yeah. Look, this ain't your fun. Let's all just take a moment to thank God that we didn't get your fun part too. I'm not a religious person, but there's only one reason that stopped Kevin Barnes from doing this.
It's not your fun.
Dear Jeebus, thank you for not letting Kevin Barnes have a second midlife crisis.
I mean, the choices that they made have still held true since then. So it's more of they reset their life, I guess, and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, this just goes back to the mediocre of Montreal. Like,
actually, I don't even know if I would say it's the mediocre. I think it's just more of it's a quiet album. It's just not a lot going on.
There's not really.
Yeah, I mean, we think about Freewave Lucifer, and I really haven't gone back to that album in full since we covered it, but there were some pretty memorable moments on it. Like, Night Sift was to me, and I probably the only song I go back to off it, to be honest. Just like that holy fuck of Montreal was good again moment.
I liked Hum quite a bit as well. It has that really nice dark guitar, some like interesting David Bowie kind of riffing at the end.
But yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if this is still on brand for me or not, because I don't know if my brand is piss related anymore. But I quite liked Piss.
You know what this is, Ritz? This is like if Kevin like extended sequences off of Skeletal Lamping and made them their own songs, but only like the less interesting parts of the other songs from that album.
Yeah, maybe.
like, because I hear the Georgie Fruits, kind of the weird, like there's almost moments that feel hyper poppy in a way, and just like the weird choices that are made. Like I think it's Young Hearts Bleed Free that has like a beginning that's very like percussion and staccato, and I almost hear a dog barking on those beats, if you know what I mean.
Not really, but I struggled to remember a lot of this because it was one of those I listened to it properly, probably I think one time in full to be honest, and another time just kind of like in the background. It's just it's hard to really remember anything that happens in here because there's no kind of big moment that grabs me throughout this whole album, and that makes
like
it hard to latch onto.
Some of the songs I feel like they're just fucking around with like presets and like just shit that's on software. And like, oh, that sounds weird. Let's try this. Like, I appreciate that, but
if you told me this was just a bunch of demos or leftovers or anything like that that's been compiled, I'd probably agree and not think twice. Because it doesn't feel like anything on here is kind of like that whole, oh, here's the big moment for a song, but it is a proper album.
It is, and like there are attempts to kind of give it some variety, like Rude Girl in what rotation I think it is. Like that just reminds me of Colossus from Lousy with Sylvian Breyer.
But yeah, I wouldn't say this album really has its own identity even compared to Of Montreal.
It's really feels like the scraps of the Georgie Fruit stuff.
Yeah,
and there's been already a bunch of albums which are that.
Like it in a way, it's almost like if Paralytic Stalks was continued into like weird ambient music. This would almost be what that is.
I could see that.
But there are songs that feel more complete. Like Soporific Cell feels like a complete Of Montreal song. It's just not one of the memorable good ones.
I guess the comparison to do with Your Fun is what do we accept more? An album that tried to do something a little different that was so offensively bland that we hated it, or something that's just inoffensively bland. I guess we take the inoffensively bland.
I'm gonna give it to Lady on the Cusp only because it's different from the last album, which is different from You Are Fun, and we haven't listened to the one in between, so I don't know about that one. But it shows that Kevin's still trying stuff. And I think there's every chance that the next one will be different and weird in different ways, and maybe it'll be better, maybe it won't.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those ones that could have been worth a skip, but you have to listen to find out anyway.
It's nice to see that there's a full band still going, because there are those times that it's just Kevin doing stuff. But there's a full band that's credited. The girlfriend is not in the main credits, so. She's around somewhere, I'm sure, but
yeah.
I call it a blender. I got my favorites and least favorites.
I'll shout out Piss Piss, and that's about it.
Piss Piss is fun. I can read Smoke as a fun idea of a song, but it does not feel complete. I appreciate some of the honesty that Kevin has found post coming out. Like songs like Too Depressed the Fuck are feel freer in a way that would not have happened beforehand. But just because you can do that with certain songs and name them fun names like that, I would expect more. I really would.
Yeah.
God, what is this? This is what? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Stop counting, you'll be here forever.
8, 9, 10, 12, 17th, 18th, 19th. It's the 19th studio album. We have heard much, much better.
Happy 19th birthday, Kevin.
Technically the 20th if you count the self-released one as well.
Happy 20th birthday, Kevin.
You can almost drink.
Alright, let's disappoint Dominic more. Dog Park Dissidents.
You're not disappointing me.
This is Theater Kid meets punk music, but in the least interesting way possible.
So Dog Park Dissidents, right? I liked this band when we did it last time. Both times, because I thought, hey, it's a band that's embracing being kinky and weird, and they're wearing dog masks and hoods, and they're going out there and they're making really queer focused punk music. That's awesome. What I find now that they're on the major label, and this is the major label original music debut, they're not re-recording old stuff anymore. This is a concept album. This is them going for it. I appreciate that they have a singer who has a lisp.
Yes.
I think that's cool as well, going into like disability advocacy and all that other stuff if you want to go there. I think there are moments where Zach Zepper does a good job. The first track, Murderers, I think gets the point across and is very effective for what it wants to do. The problem that we get into then is that the band itself, the instrumental part of it, has gotten too good. And what I mean by that is that they are tight, they are together, they know what they're doing, but Zach just can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
I want to put out the other issue with this album. It's 55 minutes.
It is
Yeah.
too long.
There is not 55 minutes of quality on here. Now, it's not
No,
to say
there is not.
it's not to say that there's 0 minutes of quality. Not going that far. There are actually some good songs off here that I did enjoy. Like I agree, I enjoyed Murderers. I like the closer, Out with a Bang. I think
that was big single. Good choice.
this is a case of you've had not too many ideas. I think there's not enough ideas on here, but just too many kind of recordings of that same idea that have been slightly different that you've just gone and said, put it on here. This does not justify the runtime. This would be a great EP, but instead, it's an album that's just a bit too long. There's a lot of just similar ideas on here that just kind of don't justify. Like I swear I've heard the word fracking in like 5 different songs.
Yeah,
this would be a great 8 or 9 tracks album.
And that's not even comparing to were they they were the band that had RuPaul's Frack Race.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's a case of, I'm just thinking like, well, the ideas that they're bringing on here, they've already kind of done before. So if we have the context that we do, it kind of lowers the enjoyment of this as well. So like, if this was your first introduction to it, then, you know, the problem would just be the album itself. But here is, I feel like, yeah, the evolution that we're getting from this band, we're not really getting a lot of different takes that are making me go like, fuck yeah. It's just, I'm just going like, yeah, I totally agree. And then I'm off. I'm not, I can feel that this album's trying to be political, but I'm not getting that same level of anger as they're trying to emit from this album.
Yeah, I think that's because they're trying to do a concept album and they're trying to make it this whole big thing, like the cover art's like a comic book thing.
It actually goes along with a comic book, which is one of the thing that I was going to ask if you read, Domino.
I did not. Did you?
I did not.
I didn't know either, to be honest. I will say that whoever's done the album art has done a fantastic job. I think it's a quite incredible kind of comic styling that they got on there. You know, that in a sense has this kind of over dramaticness going into it, but it works really well with the art style. So whoever's drawn that cover, brilliant job.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think it's one of the highlights of this whole experience.
But
definitely,
in the case of like they go for this concept and all that, yeah, it should have been dialed down. It's not every debut on a major label needs to be like this whole beat. Like to justify why you're there, you don't need to put out defense after defense after defense after defense. You've got a point. You justify that you're there is that they've signed you.
I think something that I have learned more and more is that I definitely agree with a lot of the sentiment of the lyrics and the political edge. It just gets very easy to lose it, especially in like a lyrical context when you're just dumping it all without really a care of how does it sound, how does it go with like the rest of the song. Like there are times I feel like the singing is trying, like they're just trying so hard to keep it in the confines of the song. And if you like, and this goes back to like, if you listen to Zach do the vocals, there are times when they are not even really staying on a key. They're just kind of going all up and down the scale, kind of like a live, improv of like what they think the song is, and they're going along with the instruments. But like there are just a lot of times I feel like where it's not entirely clear. Did they like try to put this together and make sure it actually worked first, or did they just do the instrumentals and then it was just, let's just cram the lyrics in and make it work?
Yeah.
Because, like, again, I like what they're saying, but especially when you have a major label and you have this opportunity, I feel like getting the message out there and making it legible, listenable is important. And maybe you can say, oh, I don't give a shit about that. I just want the money to do what I want to do and make the music the way I want to make it. And sure, you can totally do that.
But we're still continuing.
But it's very easy to then dismiss it. And it's like, yeah, you go do that, you have fun. And I think that's not what they would want, and that's not what I would want. That's not why I picked them, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot more that could have been done, or we could have been done when we got to this point. It feels like this is not a proper showing of what Dog Park Dissidents can be. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that I've been on quite a high regard of them as you have been, Dominic, but yeah, I've still been appreciative of it. And even to this sense, it's not like I come out of this hating to listen. I think it still has at least a consistency of there, which, you know, at worst, it's just okay. Now, unfortunately, at its best, it's not much higher than that, but that just happens sometimes. But yeah, you kind of expect when you get that kind of extra boost to production. I assume so. I don't know exactly what's going behind the scenes on the creation of this album. I'm not one of the members. I'm not one of the label.
Right.
I don't know much, but it's not like this band really have much momentum that they were bringing into this that they had to rush out and capitalize on. Yes, they had some momentum. Let's not lie. If you get signed to a label, that is momentum. But I mean, it's not like they had to put out the album now, or else they'll never become successful. Right. It kind of. I mean, maybe it feels like there's a bit more time that could have been spent.
My only guess with that is that they wanted to be a political election year kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to relate it back to the election when it's so densely full of just stuff.
I definitely got from just some of the lyrics that I could hear in this, it kind of did feel like a part of it was, I guess, concern about where the election was going to go, because it's definitely not about the election results. It was released beforehand.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it definitely does speak like it has a lot of concern, and that's fair enough. That are valid things to talk about. Jeff Rosenstock put out an album that was basically just about the feeling around the 2016 election.
And I think there's a lot to be said about, where is queer liberation going to go in the next 4 years? Are we going to have to face a lot of shit that we really don't want to talk about and face right now? Like, is this album more prescient, and then it's talk of this is going to be more of a fight? This is going to be more of a thing that we have to really contend with. It could be. I think about Rage Against the Machine in this context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rage Against the Machine, one of the biggest things that ever happened with them is that they were signed to a major label, and people got pissed. In the 90s, people got pissed about that kind of thing because it was a sellout. It was, betraying their roots to work for the man and, have their shit capitalized on all over the place. And
yeah,
I think there is a proper concern with that argument. There's a reason they exist, and I understand why they exist. What Rage Against the Machine did was take their time to then make albums that had the messaging, but did so in a way that was really clear, really straightforward, and got people interested. Like they weren't necessarily always listening to the lyrical what it all meant. You got your Paul Ryans that love Rage Against the Machine, for example.
Yeah, there's that. Back in 2020, there was that woman dancing while draped in a Blue Lives Matter flag to fucking killing in the name of.
Right. But like Evil Empire and Battle of Los Angeles, they have clear, distinct songs. They have clear, distinct messaging. None of it really feels like it runs together. Everything feels like it has a purpose. And, sometimes I just think with this album that they could have done another take.
Yeah.
Not once did I feel like with Zach De La Rocha that that they need to do another take on Evil Empire. They needed to do another take on Battle Los Angeles, or even on the Renegades the cover album. Like,
Yeah.
those were the top of the line. These are the best takes. Let's go for it. Magnificent Bastards. I really again appreciate what they're doing, how they're presenting the band, the kind of things they are doing through action versus just saying it. Again, having, like a singer with a lisp, having queer liberation be the front of what they're about. But like the shortcomings almost make me question: were they ready?
That is a good question.
Because like this is a band that is in New York, in New Orleans, and I think there's like 2 or 3 locations that they're based in. They are disparate. They have to come together. Who knows if maybe they're recording over online and kind of just splicing things together. I don't know.
Who knows?
And they tour. And so there's an opportunity for them to meet up and get together, but it's definitely something that it's not like they all live in the same block in New York City. It's not like they all can easily get together and hammer this stuff out whenever they want to. I think that kind of the way they have the band set up is very difficult to have that same open communication and that same kind of free-flowing thought and like readiness. And not that it can't be done, but here I see the results and I'm wondering for them, is this really working?
I think you said basically all there is to it.
Yeah.
I've been doing that a lot lately and I apologize.
Nah, well, you're the one who's going to have more to say about this anyway, so.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to do well. I was really hoping that this is going to be, like, the big moment. But, like, imagine if Evil Empire fizzled, right? No one would be talking about Rage Against the Machine now. No one would be... Like, it'd be like, oh, yeah, they had the Killing in a Name song. That was really cool. But if Evil Empire was just 10 tracks of Zach De La Rocha straight rapping with, like, no breaks and, like, not even caring if he was on key or in sync with the rhythm, no one would talk about it.
No.
I can't really give you a least favorite off this album, personally, because I think a lot of it just, I guess, would fall under that, just because I feel like there's a lot that's just undercooked on here. But I do like Murderers, and I do like Out With A Bang. I think the closer and the opener are highlights of here.
Yeah.
There are songs like Violence Is Not the Answer, but it's a good start. It's a good opening statement, and Decades More. They're interesting songs with interesting ideas. I think there are some nice melodies in them. There are some really nice moments in Violence Is Not the Answer, especially. But I think those moments are constantly undercut by the vocal delivery. Sometimes, like I said, it just feels like they're just going up and down the scale, just kind of doing whatever they want, not really caring if it fits the beat or fits the key the song is in. And you don't have to be a great singer always to be a singer. We've seen plenty of punk bands get by without it, but like this is an album that clearly needs a higher level of musicality because the rest of the band feels like they're there. They feel tight. They feel in it. But short of that, I like Murderers. Yeah, like I said, some of those moments are really good. My least favorite song is like Atlas's Suicide. I feel like it's like a character song, but it's the only like directly named character song. And it just feels out of place in a way.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, no real favorites. It is a bit of a blender. I'll shout out the opening and the closer.
Right, so it's become pretty obvious with 2 things left. Which one's our number 1? So let's go with the one that's not our number 1.
Guilt is
Fair
good.
enough. Yeah.
Secret World, Guilt is good.
It's fine.
Yeah, I like some skate punk. It's
Yeah.
getting harder. So, Secret World, signed to Last Ride Records. I would have seen him open for Fiddlehead. That would have been their debut show. Saw him open for Fleshwater the other day. They'll be playing New Bloomfest next year as well, where I'll see him again. Fantastic live band. Straight up. They play on time, short, loud, banger set. I figured, hey, whilst we're here, let's cover the CP. And I do like the CP. I probably like it more than the Celia Hearts EP just by a bit. I think it's a really short, fun punk album or EP. Shit, is that all there is to say about it?
I would say for
Kinda.
me, I like when I'm listening to it, but when I'm not listening to it, it doesn't really stick. It's like my blender of the week for sure.
I think
And
it
like the
falls
way
under
it goes,
cheese sandwich, surely.
sure, I'll give
Yeah.
it that. Sure, why not? Like I can think of the way it goes, all right, but I like Celia Hearts more because those songs stood out more to me.
It's not the best song titled Way It Goes we've covered.
Yeah,
Sorry, Hippocampus fan.
like Guilt as Good is a good EP name for sure, but none of the songs have
Yeah.
the same title quality.
No.
I disagree. I like this EP quite a bit. I think it goes off from start to finish. Whilst not say the level of like Petrol Girls or something, which went off from start to finish and fucking totally fucking went off.
Oh yeah.
This doesn't live up to that same expectation. Don't get me wrong, but I still think it hits. It's fun. It falls
I can
under that
see-
whole hardcore scene that Cindy's got bubbling up. I recommend, but I'm not going to lie and say that there's 1,000 things to talk about on the CP.
It's
I look-
definitely a. We'll wait for the next
Yeah,
release from them.
Yeah, because it's quite a young band, all things considered.
I look
Yeah.
at your like Violent Soho when you're like a hockey dad, and I'm like, yeah, this tracks.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But you know, it's fine. I have no complaints really about it. It's there. It doesn't stick with me super much. That's like the only negative thing I can say about it. But like when I listen to it, it's fine. I enjoy the songs.
Plus, I think the big comparison we can do to say what goes in its favor compared to some other stuff is it's short. It realizes
Yeah.
that doesn't have enough variety going on to be a 50-minute album. It's just a short, concise EP.
It says what it has to say. Doesn't give you any more. Doesn't give you any less.
That is true.
And because of that, I like it, and I think the songs are great.
It made me living less, but good points are on show. This
Silhouette.
is not a band that's a silhouette. It is indeed the way
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say, and we're all fanging to get to the next one anyway. Favorites of this, Living Less, the way it goes. Least favorites, probably Silhouette.
Cheese sandwich.
Cheese sandwich or agree with Ritz. I am open to either.
Okay, so now that this is all done, we're all in agreement basically that this is the best album of the week, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Never been a sucker for a hood rat. See me in the club shaking ass. I'm a bust that.
Hey Trix.
Yes.
It is time to listen to 365 again.
That was the lowest point of the album, I'll admit, but even then I'll say I still kind of enjoyed it.
Joey Valance Brae, no hands. I think it's really good, Trix, that we covered Beastie Boys this year because this is
This
is the evolution, and God, it's going off.
This is hip hop for funky white guys, and
Yeah,
that
this-
fucks a bit hard.
Yeah, this shouldn't hit, and it just does. It's fucking like how
We
am I?
covered Beastie Boys last year. I hope you know that.
It's Beastie Boys over a Sega beat.
Oh, it was last year.
Yes. It was probably this time. Yeah, it was this time last year.
Ah, okay,
It
that makes-
was
yeah.
this time last year.
There you go. Well, I shouldn't like a fucking song that's the main kind of like line is this isn't a watch, it's an Omnitrix, but here I am.
The fucking Ben 10 callouts. What the fuck is this?
I don't fucking know.
I think the best
Gen
part
Z
of,
and Ben 10 and just what the fuck? Sure.
the best part about this album is that like everyone who listens to it, I swear, it just has a different favorite best line.
I would like to shout out the one I shouted out earlier in chat, which was when I was 10, I was sipping Shirley Temples. Present day, I'm still sipping Shirley Temples because god fucking damn, do I love a Shirley Temple.
And it's a great line as well because a lot of this album is surprisingly straight edge.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's that works out pretty well.
The opening song Bastards music video says all depictions of drinking and smoking are fake, however the depictions of swag are very much real. And then it's just them riding around in a little kiddie car.
Incredible.
So,
I'm looking for where's my favorite line? Which song is it from? Oh god.
even like
I gotta shout out
Yes.
Pack a Punch.
I feel like Michael Cera in his swag era.
One of my friend's favorite lines is I failed statistics, but I aced sex ed.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or there's the one I put in the chat earlier in the week. I melee, you brawl.
I know it's like the most out there, like it's like in your face, but it's so dumb that the first time, like it was probably the first time I heard of this album, and then the second I heard it, I almost any other fucking band, I feel like if they put a line out like this, I would have just thrown it out and said, all right, this is meme. But just the way that it was all executed and everything going into it, and I just fucking bust out laughing, and it's John Cena the way of Bing chillin'. So
Yeah.
dumb. But like how that song's actually a good flex song as well.
Yeah.
Like fuck, man.
You should call me Ben 10 got the green on. Again with the Ben 10.
We haven't even talked about Danny Brown's contribution. Like, what a fucking feature.
Yeah.
And it's better than his thing with JPEG, I think.
I don't know if I'd go that far because I love that album, but God, yeah, this is fuck, man, this is great.
And of course, how can you not feel good when you're just like, I am the baddest bitch in this club?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since a song has shot into my top songs of the year so fast.
All Black Fit, Call Me Danny Phantom.
Yes.
And there's just, I mean, we could even talk about the 365 cover for a fucking sec. Like, just the balls to just basically do a 1-to-1 cover in your style. As someone mentioned, like, in the YouTube comments, they just said thanks for having the confidence to not have to change the lyrics. Like, how great is it to hear him say 365 Party Girl? Not mess it up in any way. Just straight up, don't care. Just have fun. That's what makes it so great.
Yeah.
Is having that fucking confidence going into it. You're not... there is no care for how they fucking look or how they are perceived. They just fucking go for it, and that's what makes it work.
This is a weird sidebar. I really appreciate that every time they talk about a car, it's like some shitbox.
I mean, there's the verse from Omnitrix. Yes, I wear pink. Yes, I paint my nails. Come with myself. I'm a macho male. Calm down, Johnny Bravo. Yeah, you probably drive a Tahoe. Yeah, you probably drive a Tahoe, that ugly ass, big ass silver SUV from like 07.
Make them say wow like my name is Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, that's fucking hell. I feel like we could just spend the whole time just going through every single lyric, but that's the incredible thing. It's like it's just every time you go through this album, Ian, there's like another lyric that you don't catch it. But the hooks on this album are great as well. What the fuck?
They are. Like, I think I'm actually gonna like recommend this album to my mom and be like, "Hey, if you like the Beastie Boys, check this out. It's kind of like that, but
they're like nerdier Beastie Boys."
Yeah,
Like,
it's just hard to do.
It feels like there's genuine callbacks to like the old era of that kind of hip hop and stuff like that, but it's still kind of fresh in its own way. It's
incredible.
Yeah, this is. So we're
Beastie
waiting
Boys.
I'll let you go first, Dominic.
Beastie Boys can never do a verse that was "Call me Ben 10 because I own 10 Bens."
No, they couldn't.
No, that's cap because I always carry 10 Bens. They could never fucking do that.
So
no, they couldn't.
So Dominic, you know how you say like every time around this year I managed to pick an album that like shakes up your album of the year listings?
Yeah, you did it again.
Yeah, done it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is no doubt gonna. I reckon this will be my top 10. Like, hey,
it's probably going to be in my top 10.
Yeah, the more I think about it, like the more higher I kind of want to place it. It's fucking funny. It's great.
Yeah, I again, it's a pretty shallow year. Like, there are still plenty of things I feel like could shake up my list if we get down in it, and this is just a great example of that.
Look, we try to be quite a diverse podcast here. We try to cover a full range of music, and to that point, we've gotten to a point where two white dudes rapping over 90s beats is diverse for us, and is probably going to take over some spots in our top 10. So we've managed to go like the full progressive to the point where we're not progressive anymore. But fuck it, it's
hey.
Fuck it.
This is the third hip hop album we've done in 3 weeks.
Yes.
And somehow we decided,
one.
Yeah, the two white dudes are the best one.
Sometimes it's just how it rolls off the chin, right? It just got to go with how you go.
Tyler, the Creator, could never put out a song like a Punk.
He couldn't.
Oh, could he though? Oh no.
He probably could.
He could have production stylings that are similar, but a song like a Punk, it just doesn't fit Tyler's style.
Can we just take a second to talk about how great the album art is?
Which one?
The original, not the deluxe.
Yeah, where it's got the full Study the Blade look happening on the left.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're about and what they're going for.
Yep.
And I'm fucking loving it.
Like an early ass 2003 hoodie with no violence on it, but also like a baseball cap turned backwards. Other guy has fucking gelled spikes and a fucking katana.
Yeah.
Unity and peace on his shirt.
The other thing we haven't fucking talked about is like just the chemistry between these two sharing. It's not like one person raps in the other all the time. Like, they will share basically the same lines, but it's not them harmonizing. They just... It all just feels so effortless between the two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's two quite distinct vocals. Like, it's not just, oh, this is one person, oh, it turns out to be two. No, they're quite distinct from each other, and they contrast but complement each other so well. It's... I haven't liked a hip-hop album like this in a while. Like, yeah, I liked Scaring the Hose last year, but I don't know if I can even compare Scaring the Hose to this, because they just both feel like different albums. Yeah, Scaring the Hose had edge. This has
edge, but no edge. It's both.
This has swag.
And as we know, swag is better than edge.
Like back in 2011, 2012, when whole swag was a whole thing, this feels like kind of calling back to it with self-awareness. If this is what swag was back in the 10s, I would have been on board.
Me too.
Oh, yeah. If this is what the nerds were doing 10 years ago, oh my god, it'd be such an easier world to live in.
It would be.
And I mean, I can't say that the deluxe edition is too necessary to get the enjoyment on it, but it's good hearing the extra songs on here as well, because it doesn't get old.
That fucking 365 cover. It's basic, but holy shit. They just do it. I am so impressed.
Yeah.
I would also like to point out that this album is so catchy that the first time I was listening to it, I was singing along.
It does feel like that. Yeah.
Eat a booty like a titan, I attack that. Full metal on the mint, gotta have that. Full metal on the wrist, gotta add that. Industry plant, you a lab rat.
I don't even want to go more into the lyrics, because I feel like anyone who hasn't listened to it, it's just going to get spoiled by just it. But it's hard to spoil it without doing a full 31 minutes.
Yeah, just listen to it. This is our favorite of the week, unanimously. Yes. Let's just call it here.
Yeah. Production's fantastic. Vocals are fantastic. Raps are great. Features go off in here. I mean, Tara Reid also does quite a great verse on Doughboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of ass eating in this album too.
I feel like that's just a thing people say now.
I feel like that was a thing people said when I was in high school, so like 10 years ago.
But are they actually eating ass? I have my doubts.
I hope so. Just for everyone's
eat
sake.
Ass. Yeah, the world is better if you eat ass.
Favorites.
Eat ass if you want to eat ass. Don't disappoint people and pretend you are.
Favorites, least favorites of this. I'll go favorites: Bust It, Pack a Punch, Like a Punk, John Cena, The Baddest, Omnitrix. If I had to give a least favorites, it's gonna be to something like Okay.
I'm gonna throw out as a favorite Intermission 2.
Okay.
It's a fun little aside. It's got that little jazzy saxophone number in the beginning.
Shit, I can't believe we didn't even talk about the fucking drum and bass like jungle break that happens in Bust It out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And it just goes so fucking well.
And I just really appreciate that this whole thing just sounds like funky Sega music.
Yeah.
I like this entire album. No really least favorites.
And Dominic, favorites, least favorites?
Bust It. The Baddest is the best song. Like, that's straight up. It's the baddest, but
I like John Cena. The
Double
most.
A.
Which
can be
version
honest.
of the baddest? Batter or the original?
I like Baddest more than Batter, but Batter is also very good.
Yes.
I think Omnitrix is great. Cheesy, corny, but great. And I gotta really give it to the 365 cover.
All right.
Least favorite, I will just give to pineapple fried rice, maybe.
I really like pineapple fried rice.
I'm hungry.
IRL and on the album.
All right, so we've got to go through.
I'm sorry. One last thing.
Yeah, yep.
Can somebody out there please mix Freaks to the Front and Freaks in this album?
And add in Surf Curses Freaks.
All right, well that's just a monster. All right, so we got the gargantuan task here of ranking everything that isn't No Hands.
No Hands is number one.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's just where we are.
That's where we're at. That's where our head at is at. But we got 6 other things to do.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, it's No Hands first, Imaginal Disk second, Dead Kennedys third, Celia Hearts fourth, Guilt is Good fifth. I'm gonna give it to. Oh, this is the hard part. I'm gonna say Of Montreal sixth and Magnificent Bastards seventh.
Okay.
I'm gonna go very similar. I'm gonna actually go Of Montreal last, and then Dog Park Dissidents, just because I think there was just a bit more highlights of Dog Park Dissidents.
Yes, that's very hard. It's very hard.
Fifth, I'm then gonna do Celia Hearts, but the difference between Celia Hearts and Dog Park Dissidents is huge.
Yeah.
Fourth is going to be Secret World, although I can fully expect both 4 and 5 to swap around by the time that I actually do EP rankings, like when it's actually confirmed. So they're pretty close to each other. 3 is Dead Kennedys, 2 is Magdalena Bay, Imaginal Disk, and then number 1, fucking of course, Joey Valance and Brae. This is pretty unanimous number 1 here.
Yeah.
I just want to say, we picked 7 albums. It's incredible to get a unanimous number 1 during that kind of...
We picked 6 things and also No Hands.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so starting at the bottom, I'm going to go Dog Park Dissidents, then Lady on the Cusp. Then I'm going to throw the Selena Bay.
Magdalena Bay?
No, Cecilia Hearts or whatever the hell it is.
Okay, Celia Hearts.
Masatui side project. Then I'll actually go Guilt is Good and Magdalena Bay. Then Dead Kennedys, No Hands.
All right.
Okay.
Now that we've ranked everything, it's time for me to press the start recording button. I just wanted to fuck with Dominic for a second there.
I did white out for a second.
Nah, it's time for us to tell us what we're doing next week.
Oh, I'm gonna find out. Maybe it's my mic wire or something I got to replace. I'm gonna look at that.
I wish we had a camera. I just wanted to see if Dominic was like, what the fuck? We did this all for nothing.
Yeah.
I had many changes to my picks for next week. But I have settled once again, and I have settled in it has a theme. The theme is Lithuanian pride. Now,
Okay.
to start this, as I said, I found an album that I have to cover. It just came up. It's a friend of mine. RJ is their name, and the band is called Kicked by a Hand. We're gonna listen to some Chicago ska.
Hell yeah.
All right.
The album is called Thanks to Friends of Friends, and I'm going to post it in the chat now. It's a little 22-minute little album. But, so, I went to the free show a couple days ago. It was a good time. Really good time seeing RJ again. I was telling RJ, yeah, I do this podcast. Yeah, I'm thinking of covering the album. And then they were like, yeah, but you should talk to my dad. My dad is also in a band.
Okay.
So, on top of that... I also saw that the latest album from this band does count for our 2024 cycle, released December 1st, 2023.
There's been a couple things we've actually covered this year from December 1st, 2023. Captain Jazz, Full of Hell. It makes sense to add another.
So we're also doing the band Dead Freddy, The Devil is in the Details. Now, as I was saying, this is a Lithuanian pride. Growing up, RJ and I were in the same youth group that Mitchell was in. We all know each other. I always knew RJ was very proudly Lithuanian. Their father is Lithuanian. And if we're talking about other musicians and people that I know who are Lithuanian, the other big person that comes to mind is Lukas Kukas. Lukas Kukas is in another band that's not Grief Eater called Bosses. And Bosses also put out an EP this year. So we're going to do Many Worlds, the EP by Bosses. And also, because I am feeling saucy.
Oh, that's the shittest pun you've done, and I know what you're picking.
No, you don't. Bosses also had an extra single called Cancer Moon I was going to select as well.
Fuck, I thought you were picking Red Sun.
All right.
Get fucked.
Fuck. I knew you'd pick Bosses, so that's just was always going to happen. But Trix, what are you picking?
I'm actually kind of taking a page out of your book in a way. I've been on a bit of a Northern Lion kick, and
valid.
A clip on Twitter popped up of him saying that Liz Phair was just Chapel Roan for Zoomers.
Okay.
Or vice versa. Chapel Roan was Liz Phair for Zoomers, and so I want to actually test that. I've listened to Exile in Guyville before, but we're gonna actually just put it on the podcast and listen to Exile in Guyville by Liz Phair.
Okay.
All right, and I'm currently just trying to add. I got 2 albums lined up. I'm trying to get 2 EPs lined up. I know it's a lot, but let's be honest. We're always gonna kind of cram going into the end of the year, weren't we?
Ritz, you say this. You said you had a thing you thought I was picking. I have something that if you pick what I'm thinking you might pick, I'm gonna tack on something extra.
Okay, well, I'm currently just trying to find one last EP. I know I'm a bit feeling for time here as I'm scrolling over, but once we get it, we'll see. If anyone wants to play some Jeopardy music, that would really help.
Ding 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 ding.
Oh, you know what I should do? I should do a Dominic pick, which is exactly what you've done this week. It's called Pick an Album That Nobody Knows Of because it's your fucking friends.
Yeah, why not?
Yes. So I'm actually going to do that twice. I've been meaning to do some self-promotion, and we're cramming here, so why not completely fuck it up? It's alright. One of the albums I picked is incredibly short anyway. So we're going to have 5 picks of me. Have fun.
Fuck it.
Go.
So the first one, I did some absolute shit talking in the chat until Trix finally went, fuck, of course. Because I made so many puns regarding ammo and sniffers. But I was sure you'd get it after I said, do you have a sniff of what it is or something like that. I thought that would have been it. Nope. And then I did something like, that hurts to hear. I thought that would have been it. Nope. It took until I said, damn, security got Dominic, until you're like, fuck. So we're doing a new album with the sniffers. We're doing Cartoon Darkness. And attached to that for the albums, we're doing the new album from Speed, which was a bit ago, and it's a debut album. Probably should have covered it because we covered the EP and we liked the EP. And now the album is out and there's a fucking flute on it.
Ooh.
So fucking pan flute hardcore, let's fucking go. Only one mode. And then attaching on some
Jethro Tull vibes.
Yeah, and now attaching on some other stuff. There's a split between Amends and Razor's Wolves, which I've kind of been fucking with a couple of the songs. I figured let's add that onto the EP. And now the next 2. I got friends and bands. That's right, I have friends. And the danger of that is always they go when they hear a podcast and, could you cover our stuff? Could you cover our stuff? Alright, it's the end of the year.
You have friends that are begging you to cover your stuff? What?
I had one of them. I don't know if they were either of these 2 bands, but one of them did. So, let's give some feedback. If we hate this, I'm sorry, I'll be your friend in the next life. Aphrodisiac, Are They Staring at Me EP. Carnivara, Fauna for the Flora EP.
Okay.
This is all 2024 stuff.
So, you did not activate my trap card.
What did you think I was going to pick?
Postcard Nowhere.
Nah. That
However,
it wasn't in my mind, but it was a consideration.
You activated my trap card.
Oh?
It's the green card from Bellaccio.
Nah, this is just something I saw was released recently, and I wanted to tag it on. Sex Max released an EP, and we'll cover Sex Max Goes to Hell.
I keep getting Sex Max confused with a band I saw earlier this year called Sex Mask.
Well, the thing I was going to say is that I'm going to throw in something else anyway. Another December 2023 pick. Postcard Nowhere did a live album.
All right.
Including a full 11-minute and 40-second Headless Horseman, Horseless Headman.
Oh, for how many minutes,
Okay.
sorry?
11 minutes and 40 seconds.
Ah. That's, I thought you said 36 minutes. I'm like...
No. So we're also doing Live in Philly from Postcard Nowhere.
All right.
All right, there is a lot that we're covering, and my throat's still kind of fucked from being sick. So if you didn't cover what we're doing next week, just scroll back like a minute or 5. Just listen to this again.
We're not repeating it.
I'm not going to repeat it this time. That's the fun of this episode.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it. We're doing it weird. I'll repeat it.
Sure.
We are doing Thanks to Friends of Friends by Kicked by a Hand, The Devil is in the Details by Dead Freddy, Many Worlds by Bosses, Cancer Moon by Bosses, Live in Philly by Postcard Nowhere. I am doing Liz Fair's Exile in Guyville and Sex Mex Goes to Hell. Ritz is doing Cartoon Darkness by Emil and the Sniffers, Only One Mode by Speeds, a Split by Raised by Wolves, and the other band that's not listed on the Spotify listing
Amends.
on the fucking Discord. Are They Staring at Me by Aphrodisiac, and Fauna for the Flora by Carnivera.
You got it.
Ugh.
That's been Dissonant Waves this week.
It's been a weird one.
Hopefully things will return to normal a little bit more next week. I'm in Dominic.
Hopefully.
Trix and Ritz have been here. Our stuff is in the description below. Games My Mom Foundcast, all that podcast, all that stuff.
Foundcast.
We have a lot of
that
listening
again.
All right. Have a good week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. My gross Michael went extinct.
Oof. Yeah, I was supposed to go to a trivia night last night, but I was just too sick to do it.
Your gross Michael went extinct? What?
I'm playing Bellaccio.
Ah,
Yeah.
I see. I'm also testing my audio, so please continue on.
Can you hear me?
Gross Michael's the one you want to get extinct, isn't it?
Yeah, you do, so you can get Cavendish.
Yeah. Have you ever had a Cavendish go extinct?
I haven't gotten a Cavendish.
Ever.
Ever.
Wow. So, Dominic,
Go ahead, what's up?
the way that Bellaccio works with this